Good evening and welcome to the Disney Discord podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Graham, and tonight I'm joined by Bernardo. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Always here to talk about Disney and Universal.
Why is it you put that pause in there? Every time I say "Are you there?" you pause for 10 seconds, just so I'm like, "Oh no, it's gone wrong." But
Really? I don't.
yeah,
I don't think
only when
I
I say hello for
paused.
only for the first time. It's only ever when we
Well,
join the recording. First.
yeah. Not
Well,
sure what happened.
welcome. We have a lot to
Yeah,
talk
thank you.
about. We've got through the change freeze. We've got through the Disney shuts down for Christmas and New Year, and we're now on the other side of that. We've had some fantastic
Yeah.
news on Universal Great Britain that gave us a lot to talk about over the festive period. But we're going to
Mhm.
dip back today to specifically Disneyland Paris. I think is our primary sort of topic today, and then we'll maybe take a quick explore at what's happening because there's some developments in Epcot, and I think there's some news on Tiana's water adventure thing
Bayou
that we
Adventure.
might
Yeah,
want to cover. That's it, yeah.
yeah.
I was trying to remember its
Yeah.
name. This is what happens when you're so rusty. So, first things first is Disneyland Paris have launched their new Electric Sky Parade. The Disney, not Disney's, but Disney
Yeah, yeah.
Electric Sky Parade,
Interesting.
which is a reimagining of as they say, the 1992 version of the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and
That
it's
ran.
quite
That
it's quite
ran
interesting.
on that park, right?
Yes, it did. I mean, the Main Street Electrical Parade gets about. I mean, it's the one that's probably toured, the
The
majority
most
of.
Disney parks. Yeah, yeah. I think it's been
Yeah,
in every Disney park but Shanghai. Not sure about Hong Kong, but that's
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's traveled the world. Yeah. Interesting.
It's a well traveled part. It is a well
Yeah.
traveled, and obviously, a lot of people randomly believe that there was only ever one. There was, in fact, there's two full versions of the Main Street Electrical Parade, and then there's a bunch of sort of duplicate and sort of floats that go between them. I wish I'd
Hmm.
prepared a little bit better, but somebody, I'll try and find it, but somebody had shared this awesome graphic of all the different versions in a line,
Hmm.
like all the different versions, and it was fantastic to kind of see, where it had run and where it hadn't run, and you know, what that meant for
Yeah,
different places.
the
So
other versions like Fantalusion and all the others, Paint and Night.
yeah,
It's
Paint the
there have
Night,
been
Spectrum
very
Magic.
iterations of this. Yeah, exactly, of
I've
this
got it.
type of parade.
I've got it. So it's at Carter Sauce, Sam Carter on Twitter. That's well at X
Mm,
now.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That shared it, and it's a fantastic graphic that's got all the sort of different versions. And he's crowdsourced this, and he reckons there's version A, B, C, and then there's two B versions that have kind of been modified. So yeah. So
Yeah,
Disneyland, Walt Disney World, Tokyo Disney, Disneyland Paris, and Hong Kong Disneyland have all had varying Main Street Electrical
very fun.
parades. Now, the interesting thing is the Main Street Electrical Parade, if you go back, was basically a nightly attraction that ran more often than not. In fact, if you take the entire history of Disneyland, the Main Street Electrical Parade has been there more than it has not been there. And the
Oh yeah.
same, you can't say the same for Walt Disney World because it didn't have Main Street Electrical Parade, but it had Spectrum Magic and everything. So a night parade is more regular there than not. And then Tokyo Disneyland, which I think is the only one that still, I think Dreamlight still runs in Tokyo Disneyland. Yeah, it does. So
Mm-hmm.
Dreamlights, Tokyo Disneyland has run that since it opened. Disneyland Paris, again, although it wasn't Main Street Electrical Parade, had Fantalusion. So again, you've got a period in Disneyland Paris history where it was more regular than not, although that's about to change. Well, I guess not,
Yeah.
because we've got the drone show now, where night
True.
parades were a thing. So the truth is that le- if you go back to the park's history, it's less likely that you didn't see a night parade than did. So
Yeah.
to be totally honest, night parades are the normal, and not having one is the non-normal. So I guess
Yeah.
it's nice to see Disneyland Paris have come back on this. Now, I don't know how much of this. I've got this nagging feeling that they've done this deal with the drone company Dronosos, and they effectively, once the show's finished, they just send a guy every night to kind of run the show, There's
Yeah.
nothing that stops them making the next show, and I think that's why we're seeing so many new drone shows. Is because effectively, once they've built the show, it just runs the same every night. You don't, unlike a parade float,
Yeah, it's
nobody
very easy to
maintains
run.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's super
and
easy to run. You
the
just have
same.
to program it, and then it's just clicking a button, getting the drones ready in place, and clicking a
And
button.
and the 500 drones, I mean, they don't really care what show they do. We've now, this is probably the first time, because this one has fireworks. This is probably the first
Yeah.
time we have bespoke drones. The rest of the time, it's one of those interesting situations where, it could do power of the night, and then immediately, as long as you change the batteries, I suppose, or recharge them. The minute you recharge the batteries, it could do the electrical sky parade. It could do the Bastille
The
Day
30th,
firework
yeah,
version
or the fire.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So
Yeah,
drones are really
yeah.
useful in the sense that, unlike parade floats, they take up the exact same space regardless of what you do, which isn't very much, and they can do any show. So anyway, waffling on about drones and why drones are fantastic. You can actually listen to every other podcast on this, because we talk about this, I think, every podcast now. Just a
Yeah, we
reminder.
love drones.
If you're listening live and you're in the audience, please drop any messages or any comments you want in the chat, and we will cover them. And if you feel brave enough, just hit join the stage, and you can come on the stage and talk rubbish with us about Disney. And if you're listening to this after, you should really join our Discord server and come in and do the podcast live with us, because it makes it more fun talking with other Disney fans. So, the Electrical Sky Parade. Have you watched it?
I have watched several videos on it. I mean, your videos were amazing. I watched, I think, all of them that you put out, the closer ones, the first one, and it for me from looking at a screen, it already feels amazing. So I don't know how it'll feel there. It's just it's
Well,
pretty cool, pretty cool.
well, it was,
But I mean, you've
well, it was
been there,
very
so
cool.
you can say.
It was cold. That is the first thing I'll say. It was very
I've
cold
heard.
when it came out.
I've heard.
I mean, it was like -3 the first night, so I was already, and I got there quite early, and I got
Oh,
a good
wow.
spot and everything, and I was fine right until some parent put their child literally on the bin I was standing behind. I was like, oh, and then they had them on their shoulders, and it was just, but it didn't. It was fine.
Yeah.
First thing I
Okay.
should say, none of the videos online capture the color of the drones. So
Okay.
if you go back, I mean, you've got videos as well, and you were obviously there for the New Year one where they've done the New Year drones and fireworks. Have a look at the colors on the videos versus what you've seen in real life. So this is the first problem we've got. All the videos online are kind of dull and kind of dark. In real life, every single drone really pops. Like, they're really bright. These are really, they've
Okay.
gone with very basic colours. They've gone, I mean, it's your reds, it's your greens, it's your blues, it's, sharp orange and sharp kind of purple. There's no, if you look at the colours, they've gone for very bright, very solid colours.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of
And
sense, to be honest. So
unlike Power of the Night, which I think I would compare it to most, it definitely had more colour. And that's what's
interesting.
I mean, Elliot the Dragon alone with the green was just very, very bright. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. I like that I like the soundtrack. I think they've done very well. The soundtrack, they do a 20-second interlude into what the Main Street Electrical Parade was for people who hadn't seen it. And then they do a sort of corrupt. It corrupts as it begins, and then it corrupts as it comes out, which is a really interesting effect of like the lights and sort of failing and then coming back up and getting powered up. It's that sort of. Do you know that sort of like THX sound you used to get in the cinema? So you'd sit down and be like, the audience is listening. It's that sort of feeling, and in the park it's quite bassy, and you kind of get that sort of, oh wow, something wild is happening round about me. and
Yeah,
it,
I
it,
found it
it has.
interesting that they did that. I wasn't expecting. I was just expecting, the normal soundtrack. So it was fun
Yeah,
to see that they kind of played around with it.
it's interesting because it's almost like a lot of the shapes that they're doing are quite basic. So the dragon's quite basic. Some of the, the creations in the sky are quite basic. And
Hmm.
I think that what they're doing is they're like, remember, we're recreating a 1999 version of a parade that was
Yeah.
created prior to even 1990, not 1999, sorry, 1992. We're creating a version that
Hmm.
was created prior to even 1992. So you're looking at something through, we didn't even have LED light back then. We had
Yeah.
they were compact fluorescent or whatever at the time. So you're dealing with something that's trying to look old while also showing off modern tech in drones. So
Very fun.
very impressive. The fireworks on the drones, I think I was ready for the pirate ship, for the ship that kind of has the little fizzle effect at the back of it. I was
Hmm.
ready for that. I was not ready for the train to have steam coming out the funnel, and I wasn't ready for the dragon to kind of snort the
Yeah,
smoke out
the
its
smoke.
nostrils.
Yeah, yeah, that was very impressive. That was
I
very
wasn't. I
impressive.
didn't. I wasn't prepared for that, and I think that it was done so tastefully and so well that actually it was it was a very impressive effect. The
Hmm.
castle projections, I go back and forth on these because when I was there in person, I was too busy looking at the drones to really see what was happening on the castle. And I think
Yeah.
that when I was looking at photos afterwards, and when I was looking at my girlfriend's photos, and she filmed specifically just the castle,
Hmm.
that has some of the drones in it too, but she filmed the castle, and that's again on my YouTube channel. You see that actually someone's put a lot of effort into animating the castle. Like these are not simple animations. Like you have the train traveling around the castle and coming out the castle
Yeah, yeah, they're very
entryway.
impressive too. And I mean, they do have to have those because if the drones can't run, which is a problem that sometimes happens, and I think has happened at
Well, it
least
did.
once.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to rely on the projections. I haven't seen a video on the projections alone, so without drones. Um, do you know if they're somewhat different from the normal show, like a B
No.
version,
Same.
or is it just the same? Oh, okay, it's the same. Because the one over at Studios, the Power the Night, you do have an A and B version if there's no drones. So
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting there may have been some changes, but I mean, you
I
already
don't know.
have the floats running
I
around the
don't know.
castles.
I mean, I think it was DLP guest EN or something that was there, and they said they didn't perceive there to be a weather issue for why the drones couldn't go out.
Hmm.
So I do wonder that if it was maybe just, they maybe had to test and they waited till, that would have been show 5.
Yeah.
And I think they've maybe in the opening week they've got to try the B mode just to make sure before it's signed off that it works. And if you follow,
Could be.
I think it's I think it's Pixie Dust BE. If you follow
Hmm.
them on X, they pointed out, although they're very minute changes, they're basically angles of light changes. They're having slight tweaks to some of the lighting rigs and to some of the lights in the show
Yeah.
already. So
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, there were some differences in the animations. I saw that. I'm not sure
what
if it was Pixie Dust, but I did see that, which is after a week, it's a surprise.
I mean, I felt the castle had so much going on, and I suppose it does have to, in case the drones don't work. But there was so much going on in the castle that I wasn't taking it in because I was too busy looking at the drones.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, this is probably the best I have ever seen the lights tied into any show that Disneyland Paris have done. So the lights in this show are spectacular. You're talking, you don't really
The
get it in the
lights,
videos again.
the lights like the floodlights, the
Yeah, so
sky tracers. Mm.
you've got the sky tracers are the brightest, and sharpest I've ever seen them. And I don't know if that was
Okay.
just because it was that cold it worked really well. But
Mhm.
I mean, if you go back and look at the videos, you've probably remember they told us for Dreams they had upgraded all the Sky Chasers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I, and then we couldn't really see a difference. Like we were all
Mhm.
struggling to see a difference on the videos. You can see it now. So I don't know if they've held back and maybe this is them now getting used or but you go look at a video. Look at Dreams. Look for a video that's more than 2 months old on Dreams and then look at a Electrical Sky Parade video and tell me that the Sky Chasers are the same
Yeah.
because they aren't.
Yeah, they may.
They,
Yeah, I don't know. Could
They've
be.
also got so during parts of the show, the hub has like parade lights that normally are kind of static in color, but these are like flashing with like flashes going across them and like just interesting little things like that. The lasers fire at different locations than normal. There's a lot more color. There's a lot more activity with the lights, which kind of gives it a
Mhm.
faster pace. And I think the drones themselves are a bit slow, but
Yeah.
it's covered well by the amount of random lights going round. And then finally, that sort of crescendo they do at the end where they put the logo up there with the Disney's
Mhm.
electrical or the Disney Electrical Sky Parade and it does the collapse and the corruption collapse and then sort of rebuilds
Yeah,
itself.
yeah.
That is some phenomenal the amount of work to get that to work must be unreal. Like that was the moment. The train was impressive, the dragon was impressive,
Yeah, but that
the
the finale was
the
worthy
finale,
of a
yeah. So
finale.
I see in the chat here, Catology, 100% right. There's lights in Main Street as well, and in the run up, so the Symphony of Color season began, and Main Street half an hour before changes color, and each building on Main Street gets its own color, which I've posted some pictures of, but it's a very, very impressive sort of. It sort of brings out like the buildings almost look high definition. I don't know how to say this, but like they look
Yeah, yeah,
higher
yeah, yeah.
definition than normal. And you've
Very
got that
interesting.
light, and it plays with the show as well. So it's a very well integrated show. I was very impressed. Now, the one big problem they did have, um, the big problem that I did see is that
Mhm.
on my first day there, Space Mountain was down, Big Thunder Mountain was down, Fantasyland was shut. So
Yeah.
it's a lot that's getting taken out the park.
Yeah. I mean, we do have to look at it from a different perspective because, January, we normally already get a lot of closed attractions. They say it's
Yeah.
for refurbishment, but it's just because there's not enough people to fill those attractions.
Justify. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but even after that, Big Thunder and Space Mountain, they have a lot of problems, and they've been having a lot of problems and more problems with each year that passes,
Yeah.
which could lead us to a next topic. Are you ready to leave Main Street? Not Main Street. Disney Electrical Sky Parade.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I want to say is thank you very much to Disneyland Paris for bringing this back. I think it's a really interesting part of Disney history. I don't think it's as good as having a night parade. I think it's very, very good, and I can understand why we've done it this way, and I would never take it away. I do think, though, it's slightly. There's a nostalgia to standing there with a night parade going past you. There's something that just is impressive about a night parade. That the drones are very impressive technologically; they're much more advanced, and I get the show can evolve a lot easier, and perhaps as we've seen, the drones just get better and better.
Yeah.
I that it's it's an
It's
8 out
just
of
not on
10
the
for
same
me.
level as a physical
Yeah,
parade. That's what you're saying.
paint, paint the night would be a 10 out of 10 for me. I think the drone
Okay.
show is an 8 out of 10, and that's. Do you know what? It is not to its discredit. I think it is fantastic at what it does. I think it's an
Mhm.
amazing show. I really hope Disneyland Paris keep it, and I think they're going to keep it for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, Depending, someone's just put in the chat there, Zune in the chat has just put, what's the best spot to see it? This is the amazing thing. I seen it from 3 different spots, and I've seen it from about 50 other spots on video. And I've got to tell you, every single spot you see something different. So I think the people who we were offered tickets to go into the reserved area by Disney, ultimately through communication nonsense between me and them, we actually didn't get our ticket. So I paid to go. I was always paying to go on this trip, so it's not that I had to pay; it's that I did pay to go on this trip specifically for this show. The people who were up front, I think, didn't see as much show as people who are further back. Like I think on this one, the sweet spot is in that sort of circle off the hub and sort of just further back. I think if you're on Main Street, you're getting a better view than you're getting if you're right up close. Like this is not something you want to be up against the castle. This is a get further back sort of gig. There's a lot more happening at the Main Street end. The entrance, there's the little bit down by the landscaping department. That's a good place to stand. And some other people said that the space in front of the Buzz Lightyear shop, I forget what it's called. It used to be
Constellation.
Constellations. That's it. If you stand there, there's a big space there. That's apparently a very, very good space as well. So, I again have not been. I'm going back in May, so I'll certainly be standing better areas. I think the show, given the projections and given the show, it's very easy for this to be exported to other castle parks. It's very much copy and paste. And I think the other thing I would say about it is it could very easily be moved across into the studios and projected onto Tower of Terror. Like, I don't think there's anything. There was nothing. The castle and the drones worked really well together, but there was nothing that linked the two of them in the sense that it couldn't be in a non-castle park. So I think, and this is just me thinking out loud, this could be a really good one for Disney's Animal Kingdom. Like this, this is the sort of fireworks you can do when there's animals about. You know, if
of course
your big problem would be if the drones fell, unlike in Disneyland Paris, where you could probably recover them. I think they'd just be stuck in the lake, but. You know, I can't see how this couldn't be a show that happened in Animal Kingdom. Like this sort of show could absolutely be there.
Yeah, I mean, Animal Kingdom has the main problem with the sound and the animals, but I mean, drones compared to fireworks, it's nothing. So I really do think that if Disney World did drone show, sorry, I think it should be Animal Kingdom. It just makes sense. It's the part that hasn't any show, so yeah.
I'm happy to wrap it up there. Amazing show, Disney. Thank you so much for doing it. Please keep evolving it, keep pushing it, because it's fantastic. And consider an electrical cavalcade.
Yes, please.
Yes, anyway, please. Mr. Bernardo, take us on.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Big Thunder Mountain and Space Mountain, and how they're constantly breaking down. So that's a very big problem. And let's just jump into the rumor. And that is, Ali from Outsiders has said that the major next refurbishment should be Big Thunder Mountain with most likely retrack of the coaster. So I don't know the specifics, but I think a roller coaster like that is supposed to last at least 20 years. And it's now been 32 years of constant usage? I think so, yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And also, Space Mountain is a little bit younger, 3 years younger. But Indiana Jones also has, of course. So the elements don't get to it as much. But Indiana Jones also has a lot of these problems. And if you actually see the tracks, you can see all those spots they've been fixing. And if they keep on doing it, it's going to be more fixings than, the actual track. It's just a retrack. I mean, Indiana Jones would be very easy to do a retrack. But Big Thunder Mountain being the priority seems to be interesting, because they're taking the big undertaking first. So
well, the interesting thing the one thing you have to kind of remember about this, Big Thunder Mountain takes more guests than Space Mountain does just by the fact that as a roller coaster, it's much tamer. Now, it doesn't always feel much tamer,
Mhm.
but it is a much tamer roller coaster.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
The second problem you've got with Big Thunder Mountain, you can only really retrack it in the summer. You can't really do it in the winter because you're going to have to be outside to do it. And the other thing, Big Thunder's outside, whereas Space Mountain relatively is in good, it's got better conditions for the track because although it's not climate controlled, it doesn't get hit with
Yeah,
rain, it
of
doesn't get
course.
hit with
Yeah.
frost, it doesn't get hit with the usual sort of
Snow.
nonsense.
Yeah.
So the other thing, and I know this is contentious, and I know in X everybody gets furious and is like Space Mountain's quite unreliable, but the data that I've got, and we've been reading wait times back till 2012, is that Space Mountain is a relatively reliable roller coaster. Now, I'm not saying now this doesn't mean it doesn't go down often. All roller coasters and every theme park in the world go down often. But in comparison, Space Mountain's quite a reliable ride. It operates almost every single day that it's supposed to operate. And when it doesn't, it's a
Yep.
relatively quick fix and is back operating. If you compare that to other parks, if you compare that to some parks in the UK, if you compare it to some of the American parks, you've got certain rides in Busch Gardens, for example, that go offline, don't come back online for 3 months. That's not.
Oh wow.
That's
Yeah.
So Space Mountain being down for a day or two is reliable in the grand scheme of things. So I get the feeling that Disney don't
one
see it
major
as
Yeah, I just think that, just to stop you there, because one major problem of Space Mountain, I think, is the launch, where they have to replace the cable. Like it
yeah
used to be like every 6 months, but it's now become less and less, and I think they've been doing like almost 4 to 5 months. Look, so they have to replace
yeah
the cable every 5 months, and the problem is that it's old technology, and the roller
very
coaster industry has evolved quite a lot.
yeah
So there could be a lot more easier ways to do it. So yeah, while it is in a better shape, there are some elements that I think should be replaced.
Well, the show building. I mean, the show building. We've seen the images from 2 years ago and now, and half the lights don't work. Like it seems
Oh yeah,
bizarre.
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
I
it's very
I
bad.
I struggle. This is the thing I struggle with. Why do we have like let's refurbish it to perfect and then let it degrade over the next 10 years? Like, why is it not considered that light doesn't work? We should fix it, sooner.
Yeah,
Like, everything
I don't
seems
know.
to require. On the flip
A
side,
huge
what I do
refurbishment. Yeah.
what I do need to give them credit for, and Space Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain were down a lot, but it was -3, and the weather does severely impact those roller coasters.
Mhm.
Um, one thing I should say, every single like part of Phantom Manor and every part of Pirates of the Caribbean, every like funny effect and everything was working. Like we had the swinging pirate, we had the dueling pirates,
Mhm.
we had the animatronic pop-ups, we had the cannons were working in the water, we had the cat. Like it was all working fine, and the ride was
Yep.
probably in great condition. And you know, we quite often we can be like, oh, everything's degrading, but actually, I think the rides in Disneyland Paris are probably in the best shape they've been for a long while.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%. I completely agree.
I think
Look at
I think they're in quite
it's
good
a small
condition.
world.
The park is in pristine condition. Like one of the things I noticed when I
Mhm.
was there is the park is at a better standard. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was October. I was in Orlando, and
Yep.
Disneyland Paris in January is in a better condition than Orlando was in October. Without, I don't need to. I don't mean a little bit. I mean it was in much better condition. Every single part of it was in better condition than its Orlando counterparts. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty
so
wild considering we're talking about Disneyland Paris.
Disneyland Paris is now the flag bearer for kind of quality. Like if you go down the main street of Disneyland Paris, it's far better than what you're getting in Orlando, and that could just be
Yep.
because there's more wear and tear in Orlando, and it's harder to keep up. But it is the ride fronts, the Autopia ride front, the shops, Star Tours, it was crystal clear quality in front of the screen and everything. Star Tours in Hollywood studios is basically a fuzzy screen at this point.
Yeah.
Because they were so interested in Galaxy's Edge opening that Star Tours got forgotten about. Like it is wild, just
Yeah.
the sort of difference. What Disneyland Paris doesn't have, like, I put up some photos. You can buy a lightsaber for £450 in Disneyland Paris, but you can build a cheap lightsaber, but there's not you can't do the build the lightsaber experience that's 250, 300.
Yeah. I think
euros.
that's a problem with Disneyland Paris. There aren't enough, special experiences. There's a lot of those in Orlando, in Walt Disney World. Just off the top of my head,
Well,
I mean, in Galaxy's Edge, you have the build a lightsaber and they build a droid. Just those two, and
Yeah.
then you have the new Space 220 restaurant in Epcot. There's a lot of stuff to do that I think Paris could really use.
Well, let me diverge this onto our next topic, which I want to talk about, which is dining.
Yeah.
So dining, a lot of people might not know this, but dining is one of the largest profit centers for any theme park in the world. Dining is, ridiculously important to your bottom line. You want people to spend as much money as possible in the parks. And one of the ways they do this is you can get a meal plan. Now, this has always been a big thing in America, and you can see like Disney food blog and stuff. But in Disneyland Paris, the meal plan is like an afterthought. The meal plan you can add on your booking, but then, like, I checked in at the Sequoia Lodge, and I don't think the person who I checked in with even knew I was on a meal plan. And then when I was like, "Oh, can you walk me through it?" They were like, "Not really." It's like okay. So the next thing is now I had read up on it. Now the interesting thing is I think we had meal plan standard plus or some such thing. So you can eat at every hotel restaurant, just about every restaurant in the park, especially if it's a buffet, you can eat at them.
Okay.
I was able to book tables from when I made my booking with Disneyland Paris, which was still not early enough and was like months out. I was still not early enough to manage to get any decent times. I've got to tell you, trying to book, for example, downtown at dinner time is phenomenally difficult. And then things like it was really difficult to get reservations. And secondly, it doesn't need to be. So every time I've gone in for dinner in these places, there are huge parts of the restaurant, and I've eaten just about every restaurant in Disneyland Paris now. And because we had the meal plan, we were eating at all the buffets. And I've got to tell you, every time I go in there, they're turning people away that don't have reservations, and that's fine. But they're obviously not taking reservations to fill these seats because there's huge portions of the restaurants that just have nobody sitting in them. Like huge. Loads of seats. Now, I wish this was just like, it's January, it's quiet. It's not. This happens in June, it happens in July, it happens in November, it happens in Disneyland Paris. What are you doing? People want to pay you money to sit in expensive restaurants, and you force them to eat at the counter service and eat at McDonald's rather than letting them pay you €40 a head or €50 a head or whatever it is.
I mean, it could be a cast problem. There aren't enough people to fill those tables up. I don't know.
Do you not think it's wild though? Like they're turning money away.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like this is money on top of money.
They're literally turning money away.
Yeah, like I get not everybody wants to eat in these restaurants, but there are enough people and they keep turning people away. The other bizarre thing, in January they go to low season hours. So if you go in June or July, basically the restaurant opens at about, I think it's 11:30 a.m. and then just stays open till 11 o'clock at night. If you go in January, downtown doesn't open till 6 o'clock at night. Which, again, how many more people could you... I mean, downtown is always flooded. Like, you can never get a space in downtown. And yet, they refuse to do anything about this. Like, rather than being like, it'll sell out even if we offer it from 11 o'clock in the morning through to 11 o'clock at night. They maintain it as closed till 6 p.m. Like,
Yeah,
why?
I think does downtown open during lunch hours in the summer, or is it only
Right.
dinner?
Well, I actually don't know if it was open when I was there. It's definitely open for lunch in the summer.
Hmm.
I don't know if it is. I don't think it was in January because the earliest I could see it was 6.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't in December neither.
So you've got a restaurant that you can sell out. Like, you can reliably sell this restaurant out, and you're taking the decision to make sure it is closed. Makes
Doesn't
no
make any
sense.
sense.
Doesn't make any sense. So I was annoyed at that. Plaza Gardens was absolutely dreadful. I ate at Plaza. I used to really like Plaza, but Plaza is now dreadful.
Why? Was it the food,
Um,
the service?
yep. The the food selection is very eclectic. And I get the French
Mhm.
don't enjoy cooking meat. I get that. But when you have a buffet that's predominantly meat and you've got an international audience that aren't French, you do have
Yep.
to provide some meats that possibly are cooked slightly more than it, still bleeding. So, I'd reckon if you took a vet into Plaza Gardens, you could probably resuscitate some of the animals that are there. That 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 could probably happen. The desserts weren't even good. Like, Plaza Gardens has gone down. You used to be able to go to Plaza Gardens and get, they had pasta if you didn't want to eat meat. They had Mickey waffles and stuff. Now it's gone. Just meat, more meat,
Yeah.
plain
I
rice. Like,
haven't
it
I
wasn't.
haven't been to Plaza Garden for years because I mean the food doesn't really call to me. So I really
Yeah,
I would really like to go because it's a gorgeous restaurant.
yeah,
But then again, I'm not paying what is it like 45 euros
yeah,
to not eat. Yeah,
yeah.
so it just doesn't make any sense.
Especially Lagrange. I went to Lagrange. Didn't go to. We couldn't book for whatever reason. We couldn't book the new Billy Bob's version, which is what I wanted to try. So we went to
Oh,
Lagrange. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, that is the underrated best restaurant in Disney
yeah.
that for some reason
Mhm.
some total food snobs think is not a good restaurant. It is the best buffet in Disneyland Paris. Hands down, case closed.
Maybe I don't know.
What would you rate
Maybe.
above it?
Oh, above it, I'm not sure, but I think it's at the
So
same
nothing.
level of downtown.
Oh well,
I think the
downtown's very good, but downtown doesn't have the variety of food that Lagrange has. Nowhere near.
well, yeah, but you do have a lot of international style foods that you don't have at Lagrange.
I mean, downtown is very good. I mean, if downtown Lagrange are my number one and number two, and I think Pim's Kitchen is probably number three for me.
Yeah, I really
Pim's
like Pim.
Kitchen. Something has happened at Pim's because there's huge cracks in the ceiling, like huge cracks in the ceiling. Like, you can tell something
Did
has
you
moved.
did you take a photo or
I
anything?
didn't. I didn't. It
Ah,
was when I was leaving. I was like, oh, that ceiling's all cracked. And then they've extended the
weird.
kitchen, but it's not themed. It's just it's like plasterboard wall that they've painted white.
Huh.
Like, very clear that they've extended the kitchen, but it's
It's
terribly
weird.
themed. Like, I just thought for your flagship restaurant, it was the flagship last year.
Hmm.
I would have thought you'd put a bit more effort and keep. It's very modern. It's very popular. It's highly photographed.
Yeah.
People really want a Pim's reservation, and yet you've got.
think I think it
Um,
has to do a little bit with how operations and the Imagineers don't work together. I
yeah,
remember
maybe.
seeing something very similar happening with it was Flight Force. So back when it was Aerosmith, you already had people, put on places to get into the entrance to the car. So that the little
Hmm.
door, and they had some stickers on the ground like with the numbers. And when Flight Force opened, they didn't have those, and they didn't have the plaques installed in the floor like the ones ahead, and it just doesn't make sense to once again put stickers on the floor when you could have a more permanent solution. So it just
Mm,
shows there's some kind of miscommunication
disconnect.
between the two teams. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely the upkeep of Pims. I definitely thought for having it as one of your kind of flag restaurants, it was why is there a random wall? Why is the ceiling falling down? Like why? And the other thing, they've changed the door now, so the door's not
Hmm.
glass. Well, it is a glass door, but now rather than open forward and backwards, it's now a sliding door. So it's like an automatic
Okay.
sliding door.
I mean, those doors have
So
been broken more times than I don't know. Both Pim's and the Stark Kitchen. I mean, those doors
yeah.
are constantly broken down and broken, literally broken.
Well,
I don't know.
they've put sliding doors now, and I don't think they're going to break because they're a tried and tested,
Well,
fairly
hopefully not.
sensible idea. However, in January when it's -3, when you open the front door, it doesn't really matter where you're sitting inside Pims. It's a wind tunnel, so you can feel a cold breeze hit you. And the people who were
Hmm.
sitting next to the door, luckily I wasn't, but the people who are sitting next to the door, it is freezing. They were wearing
Yeah.
jackets. And I was
Oh
like,
wow.
wow, you need a, like, the sort of cylindrical tunnel you walk through to get in? They definitely
Hmm.
need a door at the top of that or some sort of like enclosure, like big plastic enclosure to try and limit how much cold air can fly in there because people were cold. um,
Well, yeah.
so, and that let's cover the one other restaurant of note just now. So, Rosalie, this is the first
Supposedly,
edition of
yes.
the style. Um, Rosalie is the big showcase piece that Disney were punting as like
Yep.
this is exciting. The building is magnificent. It's very well
Hmm.
architected. It looks visually impressive all the way around the lake. It looks impressive on approach. It looks impressive from every side. I really like the vegetation that's built into the walls. I really like the aesthetic. I really think it looks really smart.
Okay.
Um, the restaurant isn't they don't leave the tables plain, so as you're walking around the lake you can see the kind of bottles of water and you can see the wine glasses and you can see the cutlery on the
Ah,
table
that's
that
nice.
it looks aesthetically very pleasing.
Okay.
The outside counter was well stocked. It's a very you walk up they had baguettes, they had bagels, they had pastries, they had donuts. I think they were
Ooh.
doing coffee and stuff. So it was quite nice that they had a walk up that you could take away from as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then here comes the next problem. There's nobody in it ever. So they invited us. Disneyland Paris invited the Inside Ears members to come and try Rosalie. And again, I'd written back to Disneyland Paris and said, "Look, I'm traveling with my girlfriend anyway. Is there any way we can just have two wristbands to go and see the electrical show in the reserved area? I don't mind if I don't do dinner. I understand it'll be oversubscribed." So they said they took 50 Inside Ears to Rosalie. I would anticipate they took 20, judging by what I've seen through the window. They were all cramped in a corner and the
Hmm.
restaurant is dead. There's nobody in it. The entire 4 days that I was in Disneyland Paris, I think I've seen a grand total of 10 families divided over 4 days in that restaurant. Now,
Yeah.
that's while McDonald's had a queue all the way back down to the steakhouse. Annette's was queued out. The steakhouse didn't have reservations. Lagrange had no spare reservations. Something has got, and the Rainforest Cafe was packed. Like, something has
Yeah.
gone wrong. Nobody is going to Restaurant Rosalie. So I don't understand this. When people are sitting outside in -3 degree weather at the sports bar, eating from the New York sandwich shop in the sports bar, I don't understand how that's possible when there's a big empty restaurant sitting there. Nobody is in
I
this
mean,
restaurant.
the
What has
price
happened?
difference is quite big.
But
Between McDonald's and the the
yeah,
snacks and
yeah.
everything.
But
It's
then
very big.
the Royal Pub's €22 for fish and chips.
Yeah, but was
So
it the Royal
it's
Pub? Was the Royal Pub, full?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
I mean, Chaotology has actually put that's probably just British people, and it probably is just British people to be totally honest. But keep in mind, the amount of Brits in Disneyland Paris in January is small compared to the amount of French people in Disneyland Paris in January, and yet Rosalie had nobody in it. In fact, Chaotology, are you not in Disneyland Paris just now? How many people are in Rosalie tonight? You should go and check. Like, see how many. What time is it? 18:45 here. So, oh, you're home. Anyway, it's
yep.
not busy. I'm going to tell you it's not busy. You need to keep an eye out for this. Everybody needs to keep an eye out for this when they go. We need to start a count of how many people are in that restaurant when you're there. Because here's my bet, and I've said it to you privately, Bernardo, but I'm
Mhm.
going to publicly pin my colours to the mast on this. That restaurant is going to get reimagined by July, and it will probably drop the price, drop the food to a much cheaper quality, and probably become a cheaper restaurant. So Zune contributed
Ooh,
that it doesn't accept meal plans. It doesn't take meal plan, that is true,
that
but then neither
might
does
be a good reason. No?
neither do Royal Pub though. And neither does McDonald's. Well, I suppose
Mm,
McDonald's is cheap anyway. But anyway,
yeah.
my point is I don't see how Rosalie's going to survive if they don't come up with some sort
Yeah.
of. I mean, in
Change.
fact, Rosalie's not run by Disneyland Paris either. It's run by a different company, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it the
And
same
that, that,
company?
that
Is it?
company, yeah, the same company runs Royal Pub as well.
Well, there
Those
you
two
go.
restaurants.
I can see very quickly by July it says you have the Royal Pub and you've got Royal Pub Rosalie. Let me assure you that someone is doing the maths here and thinking we've got this wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll see. I'd like to try Rosalie before the menu change. Let's
yeah, I
see.
think you're gonna. I think you're going to be quick. I think I wanted. I was going to try. They do some sort of. I think it's some sort of pork dish or sausage or something. I was going to try that. It wasn't the
Mhm.
worst menu. I certainly could have found something to eat, but I didn't actually get. I didn't get my invite, and I had the meal plan. So, to Zun's point in the chat, I
Yep.
actually I was a meal plan person, so it didn't appeal to me in the slightest because I could pay a lot that I'd already paid a lot. And the meal plan, let me tell you, having paid for the meal plan, it's lovely because you don't spend anything like on food. You spend nothing else,
Mhm.
but there's no way the meal plan's cheaper than just eating normally. Like I've come back
Yep.
about double the weight I went out because I eat a buffet twice a day. So that that I've got to tell you, the meal plan is absolutely not worth it. The annual pass discount in restaurants is probably better. Um,
Yeah.
Chaotology has also said it is 100% cheaper if you eat at the expensive restaurants of €55. Yeah, I get that, but you'll never get a reservation there. You can get a buffet.
Gotta
The
start reserving
guard,
a year prior.
yeah, book. If you're going to go with the meal plan, that is the other trick. You have to know that you're booking very early, and that you're
Yep.
getting your reservations instantly, because otherwise, it doesn't quite
It
work.
is. It
The
is a
other,
year earlier, right? The
yes, it
hotel
is.
guests can reserve a year earlier. So yeah, that's
Yep. But I mean,
that's a lot of time.
yeah, but I don't think they release the whole inventory. Like, I'm convinced they release about 5 spots just to make sure you have to eat a counter service. Um,
Hmm.
One thing I will say, the French law on no free refills is absolutely stupid because, I mean, it
I
just is
agree.
horrible. Like,
I
Disneyland Paris,
completely
you need,
agree.
if you are listening, and I know sometimes you do listen, just include a second or maybe even push the boat out a little bit, a third drink in the price.
Yeah.
Just let us have. It cannot just be one drink that is tiny. Like, or at least make it a pint of Diet Cola or something. Make it a litre of Diet
Yeah,
Cola or
exactly.
something.
I think it was it at Lagrange that they serve like 25 centiliters.
Yeah,
It's
it's just.
it's a joke. And another one, it's like 4 or 5 euros.
The other
It's
thing
it's
is,
just
it's
a
not.
joke.
It's so difficult to get a second drink as well. Like you've got to flag somebody down, then they bring you another receipt, and
Hmm.
then you've got
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
go away and pay for it before you even get the drink. Like To be honest, I cheat. I just take in cans and just top up my own drink. But that's not because I'm
gonna be
too cheap
cheaper.
to buy it. Well, it's cheaper, but it's not because I'm being cheap. It's because it's such a bloody farce to get a second drink. Like it's just
Again, free money is once again just
just
making it hard.
absolute nonsense with the drinks. The Lucky Nugget, just a last minute shout out. We ate at the Lucky Nugget with one of our vouchers one day, and I've got to tell you, the Lucky Nugget is an underrated sort of elevated counter service restaurant. It's much better than the Cowboy Barbecue Cookout. It is just a nice atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
If you can and you've got the choice between, if you're looking for a counter service, it's not really counter service because you're kind of served at the table, but it's priced almost like a counter service.
Yeah.
The Lucky Nugget is fantastic. I really rate that.
I just wish they'd bring back the show though. I've never seen it in
there's
person, but the show I've heard very good things about it, and the atmosphere would be completely different to what it is now.
yeah. Do you want to take us on to our next topic, which is the live entertainment, the shows of Disneyland Paris?
Oh yeah, sure. So I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit on the Electrical Sky Parade, which definitely
Mhm.
is a part. But just last year, we also saw the start of Together, which you just watched, right?
This is the first time I haven't actually watched Together. Now, I didn't realise they stopped you. Like, they really, really police recording of this show. There's a couple on YouTube, but there's not many.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was the first time I seen Together.
And
well,
how was it?
so many people say it's bad. But I thought it was far better than a lot of it was much better than the Marvel show.
Mm-hmm.
It was really well put together. I really liked the story. I really liked the songs. I think it well integrated. It's got some cool tricks. It uses the balloon from Up, for example. A lot of people don't realise that one of the balloons in the show is actually a drone.
Yeah.
So it uses a
Pretty
lot of cool
impressive.
technology, really cool songs, really well integrated. I came away. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that the Together show was fantastic. I made sure to see that several times while I was there, and I'll see it several times again. That is a fantastic show.
Yeah. So how would you rate it? Mickey and the Magician at first place, or Rhythms of the Pride Lands, or Together, or the other show I haven't watched once?
Dream
Studios.
Factory.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's because I bet the reason you've not watched it is because it's called Disney Junior.
I mean, I'm not really sure. I just never had the the thing to go and to watch it. But I mean, if you've said several times it's amazing, so I might as well.
Well, Dream Factory is a fantastic show. Like,
Yeah.
it is, Dream Factory is a fantastic show. It is geared at children, but it's still a fantastic show. I would say Mickey and the Magician is a really magical show in the sense that you expect to be able to be that wowed in Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And then Together's a lot of fun. Like, Together was a lot better than I expected it to be, and I would put it on par. I'd put it on par with Mickey and the Magician. Like, I don't think it's worse in any way. It's certainly better than the Marvel show, and it's better than Cinemagique that was showing its age. So,
Okay.
I was a great fan of Animagique as well, though. And sadly that's gone. Mickey and the Magician's better than Animagique, though. And then Rhythm of Pride Lands. I like Rhythm of Pride Lands. Everybody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess so. But I really like the Lion King show.
Oh, the Lion King show. I do have something, and I don't really mean for this to sound like some great big political fight on Brexit or anything. But it's very clear they have no English singers now.
Really?
So Brexit has obviously stopped, a lot of people who would normally have travelled, I presume, from like London across to Paris to do it as like a show. And every single person in the show is now French. which obviously isn't a bad thing. It's a French park and everything like
Yeah.
that. But every song is English.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you have a
unlike
little accent.
yeah, like
Yeah.
unlike Mickey and the Magician where it's a blend, and unlike Together where it's a blend, and Animagique where it's a blend, Rhythm of Pride
Lion King
Lands is
is
English.
100% English. Yeah.
Now the problem is you've got people who English is very clearly not their first language. So
Yeah.
they can sing the song, but it does. I don't know how to explain it. You're very aware that it's a
Yeah.
non-natural English speaker singing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know that we wouldn't be better just changing some of the songs to the French version.
That's interesting question.
Because
I've seen some French people say that it should definitely have a mix between English and French, just like Together or just like Mickey and the Magician. Um, but personally, I think that since it's such a show around the music itself, personally, I just keep it as it is. You know,
yeah, but
um,
your problem is it's French people singing English songs, which I mean, me singing a French song is always going to be worse.
yeah, of course. But I don't know. It's it's a difficult
I mean,
question to answer. To be
the
honest,
chat is saying here that they'd prefer an English song with a French accent over French Lion King music. So
yeah,
maybe
I kind of tend to agree.
Mhm.
Uh, just because I'm not anywhere uh accustomed to the French Lion King
I would
translation.
do me a favor. See, once we come off this podcast, go onto YouTube and see if someone's uploaded a version recently. Okay,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and then let me know if you hear a difference because
Okay. I've actually
I d-
been listening a lot to the album on Apple Music, the recording of the show, and the music it's the renditions are so cool and different
the
from the
show. I mean,
original
don't get me
source
wrong.
material.
The the show is fantastic. The song rewrites are fantastic. The
Hmm.
cast done a really good job. I was very impressed,
Yeah.
blown away. It's a great show, end to end. But it's different now, and I
Hmm.
don't know how to explain it. It's different now. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that struck me. However, I would take now. This is where we need to compare it to other parks.
Hmm.
I don't think there's a Universal show of note that I'd even say was any good. The Halloween Horror Nights shows are always dreadful. Um, but like in Hollywood Studios in Orlando, which is probably the closest comparison, the Voyage of the Little Mermaid was absolutely dreadful. The Beauty and the Beast show is far too long and is dreadful. Um, there, the castle stage shows in the Magic Kingdom are dreadful. The Finding Nemo show in Animal Kingdom is dreadful. And you know, these are all dreadful shows, and they all survive. And if you put Rhythm of Pride Lands in any of those parks, it would absolutely blow them away. If you put Together in any of those parks, it would blow it away. If
Hmm.
you put Mickey and the Magician in any of those parks, it would blow them away. I think the only one that's maybe quite good is I don't even know if it's still on, but California had Mickey and the Magical Map. That was quite a good show.
Oh, I think they closed it a few
Obviously,
years
it was
back.
it was
Yeah.
too good, so they closed it. There
Yeah.
were some people saying we should get rid of Together and we should get Rogers the musical. Rogers the musical is dreadful. Who are these
Why?
people?
I I really enjoyed the videos.
Tasteless. Oh, there was one. What was it? Aladdin at the Hyperion Theatre that they've closed in California Adventure. That was quite good.
Okay.
Um, so Aladdin was good. The Frozen one was dreadful. Rogers the musical was dreadful. I know you're going to disagree with me on that, but it was. So Disneyland Paris is just on another level. Like Disneyland
Oh
Paris
yeah,
is putting. I mean,
100%. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I went to see Wicked. Wicked's touring production was in the Edinburgh Playhouse, and I went to see Wicked on January the 3rd. So I seen it like 5 days before I went to Disneyland Paris. No idea why people are out there loving Wicked. Wicked is 3 hours too long at a 2.5 hour show, 2 hours and 45 minute show. 3 hours too long. You can do the math there. It has about 3 songs that are worth it. It has a couple of nice effects. But Wicked has just, I mean, together, if you watch together Rhythm of Pride Lands or Mickey and the Magician, and then look at Wicked, you just think this is like some B tier nonsense. And I don't even have to, like, once I've bought my ticket to Disneyland Paris, I can see 3 shows.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see 4 shows if you include Dream Factory that are better than Wicked for free. Like, Disneyland Paris, like this theatre district thing, keep the shows. This is going to go down well. This is good.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And then we're getting Alice.
Yeah, I forgot about Alice. Oh no, you have 5 shows. You also have the Frozen one in Animation Celebration, which I don't think is as good as the others. But I mean, you still have it, so you have 5 shows.
Well, you need something for the kids to do. And you've got Stitch. Someone's put in the chat there as well. You've got Talking with Crush and Stitch. Not Stitch, sorry, Talking with Crush.
Yeah.
Is it not Stitch? I have no idea.
No, I think Crush is in Epcot.
It is. Crush is in Epcot. It's...
Yeah, Stitch is in studios.
It's Stitch. It is Stitch. And you can do the English
so yeah, we
and
have
the French version.
we have Tiana's. We have Alice coming up very soon this spring.
Do we know anything about it?
No, we don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. I mean, they said like it's going to be something like an interactive show where the audience kind of helps find the ending and change a little bit with the ending.
Yeah, we know it's got a BMX bike.
Yeah, but that's it.
Here's a bit of controversial opinion. We're very good, or Disneyland Paris has been very good at castle stage shows. It's been very good with Dream and Shine Bright or Ready for the Ride. It's done very well with Together. It's done very well with Mickey and the Magician. It's done very well with Disney Dream Factory. Motors Action, arguably, was a Paris, but wasn't arguably. It was a Paris first attraction. Arguably, was quite good.
I enjoyed it.
The hit rate, and if we look at the drone show and we look at all the, the Disneyland Paris specific entertainment, the Bastille Day and the New Year's Eve and everything, and the AP parties people in America would kill for, the on-site entertainment team at Disneyland Paris are absolutely phenomenal. So they're dedicating, like, there's, 5,000 seats or something in that outside arena. They must have some confidence this is a good show. Like, it's brought to you by the same team that brought you Jungle Book Jive. And Jungle Book Jive was phenomenal. So I think we're being a bit harsh saying it's going to be rubbish, because, to be honest, all the evidence of their history is that it'll be very good.
Yeah, exactly. I think people really got caught up in the BMX stuff. I don't think it's going to be a stunt show from start to finish. I just think there's going to be a couple of scenes with those stunt performers.
Yeah.
So I'm really hopeful, and I really think it's going to be a very big surprise to everyone that's kind of not sure it's going to be a good one. But as you said, the history just points at it being good. So I don't know.
Go and see how dreadful Beauty and the Beast is at Hollywood Studios, or the Nemo show is at Animal Kingdom, and then come back to me and say that you're worried that Disneyland Paris team might not be having a good idea. I am confident this is going to be a good show, simply because everything we can see points to the evidence that they actually can do live entertainment very well.
And that's another thing that kind of pisses me off, because there's back in the day, you used to have a lot of streetmosphere that's just not present anymore. And I think that's they miss quite a lot in that. You could have, the performers in Main Street. You could have the Hollywood citizens in studios. You could have a lot of fun with this Streetmosphere, and I don't know why they don't do it. I really don't. We
The
got
budget,
a small taste of it from Avengers Campus. The ones in the rooftops. I mean, that kind of counts like it. But, it's something that's missing, and I'm not sure why.
well, it certainly didn't get spent on the parade.
Yeah, exactly.
Disney Stars and Parade, I did wonder. Like, I was watching it, and like the Crush float is now like dead. Like that. Other than it travels the parade route, there's no activity on that float whatsoever. There's entire floats that have seized up. There's the
Mhm.
I don't know if it's for the cold or it just doesn't work, but the Lion King section where they have the two spindles that they run round on doesn't work.
Yeah,
So we've
yeah.
we,
The Peter Pan float. The
there's
Peter Pan float is now lost half of it. The back part is
yeah
just not there anymore.
yeah.
It's Yeah,
I
it's
don't
completely
I don't
dying.
get it because the odd thing is if you killed that parade tomorrow and said we're just bringing back Dream and Shine Brighter ready for the ride, people would that would be considered an upgrade at this point.
Yeah,
Um, even the
pretty much.
dragon doesn't breathe fire anymore. Like Disney World's dragon breathes fire, so we're clearly
Hmm.
past the dragons breathing fire thing.
Yeah,
Um,
don't
so yeah,
understand.
what the other thing I wanted to talk about was Magic Pass.
Yeah.
So my experience with Magic Pass is basically um, the exact same as it is in Disney World now, apart from you don't get a wristband.
Yep.
So you, well, for your meal plan, you can pay for your meals. It's covered on there. For your hotel room access, you touch the magic lock on the door and it lights up and lets you in.
Hmm.
For your park access, you literally tap the turnstile. It's not. A lot of people think it's a barcode. It isn't. It's an RFID chip.
Chip. Yeah.
So you're
The
tapping
Premier
to
Access,
enter.
also the Premier Access touch points, they
Yeah,
have an RFID
reader.
reader in them,
Yeah.
in the little
So
circle. So I just, oh gosh, doesn't make any
I
sense.
don't. I don't understand it. There's some
Yeah.
sort of conspiracy here because actually they've rolled out a magic band just without the band. That's all that's happened. It's like by
Yeah.
secret. But
I, d- I don't understand it. And I mean, once again, it's free money they would be making with each Magic Band. I mean, how much does a Magic Band cost? Is it like $20,
oh god,
$25 now?
it's yeah. It's 19 for a basic one, and it's
I mean,
25 all the way to like
gosh.
80.
So, and also, they're making a lot of money on those. Like the percentage must be crazy compared to manufacturing costs.
Well,
So,
Five Guys put an RFID. Five Guys got an RFID chip in their cola to make sure you don't have a second one. In case you break the law. So you can imagine it must only be, it's like 10 cents for a chip. So I don't know.
yeah.
The plastic on the band is dirt cheap. They've already made it. They've already done all the R&D on it. It's
Hmm.
very clear Disneyland Paris runs on the same RFID chip. It's very clear it works. So
Why
absolutely
not
mind
just
blowing.
why not just upgrade it to Magic Band? I mean,
No, it's
Disneyland
no,
did it, and Disneyland doesn't even have the
mhm, half
the
the features.
have the features of the Magic Pass, which is
Yep.
crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And you have to tap
Not
with the phone to get in. There's no
this is
touch points. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
This is like when they were like the Disneyland Paris app is separate so that we can do specific features. Well, why do none of them
Mm.
work? Like, what? Where are they? When do we get to see them?
Never.
Moving on. Um, the Let's talk about the village. So
Yep.
Rosalie is obviously stunning.
Hmm.
They've started work on upgrading the hotel entrances for security, and they're working on the Avenue Paul ceremony, or we've seen the plans, like there's been some building permits or some rubbish going for them. So
Yep.
they'll be getting the American style security gate treatment. They've nearly finished the sort of Disney Village relocation of the fence for the 800th time. And they've put a floor in, which I've got to tell you looks like the same floor that was there prior to it, but I'm assured it's not. World of Disney now looks quite impressive. Vapiano looks impressive. Five Guys looks impressive. The Gaumont Theatre looks old, but they've refurbished the Wild West show entrance. That's now a lot cleaner. There's nothing in it, but it's now done. You've got Planet Hollywood, which is completely empty. You've got a Nets, which looks absolutely tragically old. You've got the Disney store next to the sports bar, and it looks like some sort of bootleg version of World of Disney. And it's funny because they treat them very differently. So in World of Disney, you've got the Big Thunder Mountain range, you've got the Phantom Manor, you've got the Small World range, you've got you've got the nice things, nice plates, and nice fashion wear and stuff. And then you go across to the one by the sports bar, and it honestly is like some sort of Chinese import, like like fake. It's the Wish version of World of Disney. So you've got Wish World of Disney right next to Real World of Disney, which makes no sense. You've got the Royal Pub, which looks quite nice. Starbucks looks quite nice. The Steakhouse doesn't look too bad either, so it looks okay.
Yeah.
You've got the Earl of Sandwich, which never really conformed to the look anyway, so it's fine.
It's a bit
McDonald's looks ancient, but
it looks very old.
Yeah. They have though. I mean, McDonald's, because I think McDonald's just have a bit better work ethic at getting buildings built than Disneyland Paris. Because they've already like dug out all the foundations and are getting ready to like go vertical on the site. So McDonald's is going to be open this year. Like, I'm calling it. McDonald's is opening this year, the new one.
I don't think so. Just saying that because I think they announced, actually, let me check it out. I think they announced an opening date of like 2025. Let me see if I can find it.
I'm telling you just now. The speed they were working at and the amount of people they had on that site, things are happening there quickly. That's where, you know how they were talking about there might be delays to the lake opening and such. They've all diverted.
Let me just read this tweet about McDonald's. Disneyland Paris announces a new McDonald's restaurant in Disney Village to replace the current one as part of the multi-year transformation of Disney Village to open in 2026. What?
Bernardo, they've lied to you. They've made it. They mean it's opening in December the 26th.
Okay.
There seems to be so much progress there that it's unreal. Rosalie looks really good, and the fashion shop, the external looked quite good as well, but it was obviously closed. And I didn't realize if you go into, I forget what store it is, it's like Lego in the art shop or whatever, you connect to it, but they're actually not refurbishing the inside of it.
The which one? The gallery, art gallery, or something like that?
No. You know the one they've shut there's like the shop they're doing up. I forget what it was because I was never in it. But the Disneyland Paris store, the fashion one or whatever it's called. You know the one?
Yeah, the kids fashion, I think.
Yeah. That they're redoing the outside, but the inside doesn't appear to have any work done to it.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't think it's getting refurbished on the inside, just the outside to look nice.
Strange.
Either that, or they're going to do, like an interior renovation. It's a lot easier and a lot quicker than, next year. So final thing I wanted to bring up while we're kind of trucking along is the methods of getting to Disneyland Paris. So this is just a moan, but I took the TGV, which now, if you were here and you got my tip about 6 months ago, which is don't even bother buying a ticket because you can just jump on. You now can't. They scan every ticket before you get on the platform. But the TGV It turns out there's about 3 companies that run TGV trains, and the tickets are not unlike in the UK or such, where you buy a ticket and it just is valid on every rail, company in the UK. That's not a case in Paris. It doesn't seem to be the case. You have to have a ticket for the specific train company that's coming to the station. Even
Okay.
though the TGV ticket I bought had no assigned seat, they wouldn't let me on an earlier train off the same company because they were like, "Oh, you've not booked this train." And I was like, "No, I gave myself time in case like
Mhm.
like if immigration was running slow or something." So
Yeah.
it turns out that you just basically can't get on an earlier train. You're committed to the train you're getting on, even though it doesn't have an assigned seat. Just a bizarre
Yeah.
situation. Like it feels like, I'm only going 9 minutes. Worst case scenario, I stand in the bar cart. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't think the TGV was up to much, I must say. Nice train
I
though.
mean, oh yeah, it's a very nice train, but they make everything a lot complicated in Paris when it comes to transit.
Yeah.
Like the RER tickets and Ticket Plus and
Yeah.
special zones and the TGV and everything's a different system, and you have to have a
Wild.
card, and it's just so strange, so strange. But yeah.
But that was it. Do you have anything else you want to cover today?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well then. That is.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we've been live for. We have been live. Oh no, it was more than an hour. I was going to say we've maybe made it under an hour. We haven't. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this review of Disneyland Paris on the Disney Discord podcast with Graham and Bernardo. Have a lovely week, and hopefully the recorded version of this will be out real soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. See you next time. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.